Thanks for joining me here today, and welcome to the first ever Tips Tuesday. Now, as you may have noticed from some of my previous videos, I'm going to start to categorize and release my videos on specific days so that you know that if you're watching on a specific day, you should get something that you're expecting. And I may have some issues with, let's say, maintaining a regular schedule because of other things that I have to spend my time doing, but nevertheless, I'm going to try and keep my videos to specific days. So if I release something on a Tuesday, I'm going to try and keep it to something that is alliterative and is going to try to be based around tips. Now, for today, I thought what I'd do is start with a series of the basics. The things that you need to do in certain areas if you're starting out in cross-dressing. And I'm going to try and cover these off a little bit at a time. So keep them quite short, just short little things. What do I have? What do I use? What have I learned about a specific topic? And I've been covering this recently on nails and eyebrows. I thought today I'd take this back, really pare it back to the basics and talk about foundation. How you get this kind of foundation application. Now, I think my foundation game is pretty good. It's not too bad. I think it certainly, it's fine. It's not the best. I'm 43 years old, so there are certain things that I just have to live with when it comes to the face and that kind of stuff. There are definitely things which I suffer from, which I really don't know if I would have had those when I was younger. Things like slight hoods on my eyes and these kind of bits and pieces. But I thought what I'd try and do today is share some of what I do and what I would consider to be essential products versus very much nice to have type products. Around foundation to start with, and then probably look at contouring, then look at going on to specific areas of the face, eyes, lips, that kind of stuff. Because building up a collection of makeup, building up your your actual products is really quite a daunting thing to do. And I certainly wasted an awful lot of money when I started out in buying things that I kind of assumed were good, or I didn't really know kind of what I was doing. So first thing to say on foundation is this. I thoroughly recommend doing one of two things. Go for a makeover, or go get a color check done at a makeup counter of a department store or a cosmetics, drugs place, that kind of thing. Boots, Superdrug, Walgreens, I don't know, whatever you have, wherever you are in the world. Either get a makeover done and get some recommendation from the person doing the makeover, especially if you like the results, or go get some kind of color match type thing done. Now, typically you're going to get a specific product pushed on you, and I tend to use two products from two different brands. One is MAC, and MAC, obviously you can go find a MAC store and you can probably find something in a local concession to you. I also use Kryolan, and I've never found Kryolan out in the shops, but if you go to a makeover, you're probably much more likely to be recommended Kryolan, or there's a good chance that if you're getting a sort of cross-dressing makeover, Kryolan might be on the agenda from their product list. And just to go through what I've got, these are the products that I've got so far. I've got three Kryolan paint sticks, because I have the 5W, which is my kind of tanned look. I've got the 7W, which I have used in the past for contouring, which is pretty good for contouring. And I also have the 4W, which I use when I am maybe a bit paler or trying to do something that is going to go with my ginger wig, where I want to go paler, more pink, maybe more of a daytime look. Kryolan's great. It's a paint stick. So all you really need to do with your Kryolan is put it onto the face and apply it. I use a makeup sponge. So I use those little triangular sponges, the small ones you can get, which are basically these. Buy a pack of these triangular makeup sponges. I find these are great. They're sort of disposable. These ones are very small, but that's good, I think, for getting into certain corners. And I simply apply this over the face. So what I would say is, as an essential product, one TV paint stick, to cover the face in a shade that is right for you is absolutely the right way to go. Most people, I'm going to guess, would be fine with maybe a 4W or 5W. You're probably going to be fine with that as a pale, white-skinned person. I have no idea on, recommendations or skin types or anything else like that. So if you have a skin that is darker, I've got no idea. I'm by no means an expert on this. So it's mostly just about what I know. 4W, 5W works well for me. And these kind of makeup sponges, these are disposable things. They're very cheap. Pick up a pack like this for a couple of quid. Very easy to get hold of. If you've got these makeup sponges, they're also good as a temporary solution for blending out contouring. If you buy a contouring or a highlighting product, they are pretty good for doing that as well. They're a good all-round, all-purpose product. Save you buying anything specific that you need to be able to use. So one foundation is essentially where you need to start. I also have the MAC foundation. So again, as you can see here, I have NW20, which is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid, which is an SPF factor of 15. This one, and I have the NW25, that's two of them. They're exactly the same. So I've got one that's kind of on the way out and one that's on the way in. And these are great. Now here's one thing I'd say about these two products. Kryolan, this TV paint stick, will do a acceptable job of covering beard shadow. It's a very oily product. It can be a little bit greasy if you're not careful with it. And I was taught, although I haven't really done this too much, before you apply powder on top, it can be a good idea to kind of let it settle down and then maybe pat off any moisture that appears after you're using the Kryolan. I really don't use it very much these days, but I still do that just in case. Apparently it helps the powder that you apply stop becoming cakey, because instead of the powder kind of crusting up on that moisture on the surface, if you can dab that away, because it can be quite an oily product, what you're left with is just the product, and then the powder looks, let's say, much more pleasant on top of that. But I use these two products. The MAC, you cannot get away with using this. I cannot, without some form of beard cover, because I haven't had electrolysis. I've had nothing done to lower the beard growth on my face. So, I can grow as good a beard as any 43-year-old. With that in mind, I need something to cover it up. And I use this product. This is, again, a Kryolan product. It's Dermacolor. I use color D32, which you can see is this kind of reddish, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's kind of reddish color. And that acts really well to cover your beard cover. Now, if you don't want to buy this, if you're on a budget and you're starting out, you can equally use red lipstick. So if you've bought some £2, £3, £4 cheap red lipstick, it's perfectly possible to take that red lipstick, apply it to your face, make sure it's nice sort of even coverage over your beard area. The red will help cancel out the blue. Pinky, orangey also works as well, but I tend to go with the red because I've got a relatively dark beard shadow. You can use your same makeup sponges to dab that in as a starting point with the actual lipstick and get that kind of neutralized, and then apply your powder on top. So whenever I put on this kind of Dermacolor beard cover, or if you were using lipstick, whatever you're using, you want to use powder to secure that before you apply your foundation, whatever it is, because otherwise the color is going to run into it. And I would thoroughly recommend this product. Now this is my powder, which I think I talked about before, which is a Coty Airspun powder. This is lovely. It smells like an old lady's house. So I'll tell you what, have a sniff, as if that works. It smells like an old lady's house. And it's quite a, it's the only thing I've got that smells like, I don't know, when you were a kid and you get like wafts of smells coming from women's bedrooms and when they've been putting on makeup, that kind of stuff. It's got that kind of old-timey smell, to me anyway. But it's fabulous stuff. Coty Airspun powder. It's a great setting powder. So always set your beard cover with that, especially if you're going to use something like a product that is aimed at women, which is going to be, let's face it, not trying to cover shadow, beard shadow, normally. Whereas your Kryolans, yeah, these are pretty tough. I don't bother with a beard cover if I'm using these, particularly if I'm using a darker colour. So if I'm using a lighter colour, maybe I might do, especially if I'm trying to go for some kind of sort of porcelain type pale skinned look to go with a pink lip or to go with the red hair that I have. I might just double down and go with the beard cover for that one because it's worth it. So when you're trying to think about products, what do I really need to start? What do I have to get hold of? You can make do with a red lipstick or go spend money on a beard cover. You need to be able to apply that to the face. These sponges are perfectly acceptable, or you can upgrade, which we'll talk about in a second. So these sponges, I may do with sponges for a long time because they're cheap, especially if you're not applying them very often. And I never bother with brushes or with anything else. I apply Kryolan and then use the sponge. I have applied MAC and used a sponge, although because the MAC is a very liquidy product, I find the sponge tends to absorb too much of it, whereas the Kryolan is more of this sort of solid stick, and therefore the product tends to just get moved around better by the sponge. I find that with MAC, and if you're using a liquid foundation over beard cover, it's probably best to try something a little bit different. So that's where I use this one. Now, this is my pot of brushes. These are my kind of, I have one pot of brushes which are my sort of foundation contouring brushes. So in here I have this brush, which is a MAC brush. You can see I've used it today, which is why it's still dirty. This brush is MAC 130, and I use this as a kind of sort of stippling brush to apply liquid foundation. So it's got these very nice straight ends, as you can see, very flat head, and that if you put dabs of the foundation on your face, you can then use this to blend that in very, very nicely. And I tend to keep working until the product kind of dries. I find that if you stop when it's moist, you're going to, there you go, moist, that's a nice word for you. If you stop when it's wet, then you can get the odd streak. Whereas if you keep blending it in and kind of working into your skin until it kind of dries a little bit, I find you get much better results. So that's kind of the basics. Beard cover, if you're trying to get away with using female products. Sponges you can use. A Kryolan paint stick in your correct foundation. Colour for your face. And then you're kind of off to the races. Everything else after that, if you want to look into contouring, for example, then contouring products are excellent to go for. You can, again, Kryolan does some really good darker products. This is the Ultra Foundation, which I've used for years now, or quite some time. This is a very good contouring product. I have the same product in a light colour, which is for highlighting. And obviously when you're highlighting, you are essentially highlighting the forehead. You're highlighting the areas that you want to recede. So highlighting the forehead, the chin, the bridge of the nose, and the jawline to a certain extent, and around the base of the eyes. That's where I highlight. I will also then contour around the top of my head here, jawline, cheekbones, and down the sides of the nose to create a more defined, finer, thinner nose. And that's my kind of routine for contouring. That's when, if you buy 2 more products, you're probably going to want to get, and again, I've used these today, these kind of brushes. I have one brush that is exclusively only ever used for highlight, and another brush that is exclusively only ever used for contouring. So this one goes with this product, and this one goes with the highlight product. And I never let them touch anything else because it's not worth, you know, mixing things up or daubing something on in the wrong way. And these kind of products you can pick up in a range of brushes. You can get like 30, 40 brushes for £10, something like that. These are cheap brushes. I don't go cheap on the foundation brush, because if you're going to invest in a foundation brush and you're going to move away from using sponges, then to my mind, you're probably looking for something that you can't get from a sponge, which means if you're looking for a good finish, then pay for a product that's going to give you that as an upgrade. But you don't need to start here. There's no need to start here. Sponges, Kryolan paint stick, some form of highlight, some form of contour, and you're good to go. And again, on top of all of that, once you've done all of that, powder, same powder. So you really don't need too many products. You can probably get away with, let's say, 4 products if we exclude the beard cover, a paint stick, a highlight, a contour, and your powder, and you're good to go. The powder, you can pick this up for, I think, 10, 15 quid, something like that. You can get the Kryolan ones, these will probably be about 15, 10 pounds, something like that, 15, 20 pounds. And the paint sticks, again, similar kind of price. That's why you're probably looking at 60 to 80 pounds for just those products, just to get your baseline done. And so if you can build this up over time and build up your skills, that's really my main recommendation. But it's good to start with those baseline products and be able to apply a good sort of matte finish to your face that is then your blank canvas for everything else you want to do. I certainly found that contouring, highlighting, foundation is a much easier skill to master than anything like eyes, like trying to get really nice cut creases or really nice eye definition, all that kind of stuff. Even trying to get decent lip shape, much easier to get your contouring done. But that's my kind of summary of what I do and the products that I have and how I go about doing that kind of stuff. Now, one update that I wanted to make, especially if you made it here, then you deserve a little bit of a bonus. If you've made it to this part of the video, I really do want to do some makeover style videos if I can. My objection to that has always been showing my face, the face that's underneath all of this, because, you know, family wise, etc., it hasn't quite been, we haven't been in that zone, but it feels like we're getting closer to it. So at some point, hopefully in 2019, I'll try and do something like that. What I am going to try to do is a slightly different series, focusing in on close-ups of specific parts of my face. I'm going to try to put together videos of me attempting to do what other people have done. So I follow someone by the name of Lucy Garland, who does drag style makeup, and I did recently a attempt at sort of following a drag tutorial, covering your eyebrows, doing all of that, and it didn't come out well. I did not look good. But I thought, I'm not worried about, you know, always looking perfect. I sometimes make mistakes. I know how to do this face pretty well, but I have weaknesses in my makeup game, and it wouldn't hurt to show those from time to time. So what I'm thinking of doing is to do something where I'll try to follow along with something else. I can give the link to the, let's say, a YouTube video that I'm trying to follow, and see how well I can actually do that. Now that's going to mean some videos with maybe some rather shocking looks. So I won't do it too often, but maybe once a month or so, I'll try and find something like a tutorial online, and I'll take you through my first attempt at doing it. Just to, you so you can get an idea of what it is that I would try and do, and maybe how close I can get to the results that the person in the video is getting. And judging by what I've done so far, it's not the best. It could be better for sure. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this video today. I hope this was useful. I'm going to move on to some other subjects next time. I'm conscious that a few months ago I think I did a similar kind of video talking about foundation and that kind of stuff. But I'll talk about my nails, I'll talk about eyeshadows and eye products, all the stuff that I've kind of built up. Really just trying to focus though on the essentials to start with. So that's the essentials video for today, what you kind of need as your baseline for getting started in cross-dressing. So thanks for joining me here today. If there's any comments, please let me know in the comment section down below. Feel free to like, share and subscribe. If you click the little bell, you will stay notified about upcoming videos and when I release new stuff, hopefully as regularly as I can get around to doing it. If you want to contact me outside of YouTube, you can do so through my email address, which is juliettesnoir@gmail.com, or through my website, which is www.julietteNoir.uk. Thanks for joining me here again today. Look forward to talking to you all again soon. And as ever, bye. Bye.